stop texting her right now. Not tomorrow, not after one last message, right now, because every extra text you send is quietly destroying the very thing you're trying to build attraction. Most men think texting more means showing more interest, more care, more effort. But what they don't realize is that attraction doesn't grow through constant availability. It grows through curiosity, space, and emotional tension. When you're always there, always replying instantly, always starting conversations, you remove the mystery. And without mystery, there is no excitement. Without excitement, there is no attraction. Think about it. If she already knows what you're thinking, what you're doing, and how much you like her, what is left for her to figure out? Nothing. You've already given her the full story before she even had to ask. And when there's nothing left to discover, her interest naturally starts to fade, not because you're not good enough, but because you made yourself too predictable. Attraction is like a spark, it needs air to breathe. When you keep texting nonstop, you're suffocating that spark without even realizing it. You're trying to get closer, but instead you're pushing her away because deep down people are drawn to what they can't fully have yet. They lean in when there's space. They think about you more when you're not constantly in their face. And here's where most guys go wrong. They confuse attention with connection. Just because you're talking all day doesn't mean you're building something real. In fact, too much texting creates a false sense of closeness. It feels like something is happening, but in reality, nothing meaningful is being built. You're just filling silence instead of creating anticipation. When you pull back, something powerful happens. She starts to notice your absence. She starts to wonder what you're doing. She starts to feel that space you left behind. And that's when attraction begins to grow naturally without force. Because now she has room to come toward you instead of you always going toward her. A man who understands this doesn't chase conversations. He creates opportunities for real connection. He doesn't try to win her over with endless messages. He lets his presence, his time, and his attention have weight because when something is always available, it loses value. But when it's limited, it becomes desired. So if you really want to stand out, you don't do what everyone else is doing. You don't text all day trying to keep her interested. You step back, you give space, and you let her come to you. And that's where everything starts to change. Most men make the same mistake. They give their attention away too easily. They text first, they double text, they carry the conversation. They try to impress, entertain, and prove their worth without realizing they're doing the exact opposite because attention, when given freely and constantly, loses its value. It becomes expected, not appreciated. Think about how people value things in life. The harder something is to get, the more it means. The more you invest in something, the more attached you become to it. The same principle applies to attraction. If she doesn't have to invest her time, her energy, or her curiosity into you, she won't feel that emotional pull. She won't feel that desire to get closer because, from her perspective, there's nothing to earn. You're already giving everything. When you're always the one reaching out, you unknowingly train her to sit back and receive. She doesn't have to wonder about you. She doesn't have to think about what to say. She doesn't have to miss you. You've removed all effort from her side. And when there's no effort, there's no emotional investment. It becomes one sided, and one sided attention never creates lasting attraction. This is where you need to shift your mindset. Your attention is valuable, your time is valuable, your presence is valuable, and not everyone deserves unlimited access to it. When you start to see yourself that way, your behavior naturally changes. You stop overgiving. You stop chasing. You stop trying to win someone over who hasn't earned your energy. Instead, you begin to observe, you give her space to show who she is. Does she reach out? Does she ask questions? Does she make an effort to keep the interaction going? Or does she just respond and wait for you to do all the work? These small details reveal everything you need to know about her level of interest. And here's the truth most people don't want to accept. If she's not investing, it's not because she's busy or confused, it's because she's not that interested. And no amount of extra texting, extra effort, or extra attention will change that. In fact, it usually makes it worse because now you're lowering your own value by trying too hard. But when you pull back and allow her to meet you halfway, the dynamic changes. Now she has to think about you. Now she has to decide to reach out. Now she becomes part of the process instead of just a passive participant. And when she invests even a little, her interest begins to grow naturally because people always value what they work for. this isn't about playing games, it's about having standards. It's about understanding that a healthy connection is built on mutual effort, not one person doing all the work. When both people are investing, that's when attraction becomes real balanced and sustainable. So instead of giving your attention away for free, start treating it like something that has to be earned and watch how everything begins to shift in your favor. One of the most powerful things you can do is nothing at all. Because when you stop texting, when you stop reaching out, when you stop trying to keep the conversation alive, you create space for the truth to reveal itself. And the truth is something most people spend weeks or even months trying to figure out through overthinking, guessing, and analyzing every message. Silence cuts through all of that instantly. When you're constantly texting, you're controlling the interaction. You're the one keeping it going. You're the one creating momentum. And because of that, you never really see how she feels on her own. You're filling in the gaps before she even has the chance to. So you end up believing there's something there when in reality, it's your effort holding everything together. But the moment you pull back, the moment you stop initiating, everything becomes clear. If she's genuinely interested, she will notice your absence. She'll feel that something changed, and naturally, she'll reach out, not because you forced it, not because you convinced her, but because she wants to. That's real interest. That's real attraction. On the other hand, if you disappear and she says nothing, that silence is your answer too. It may not be the answer you want, but it's the one you need because now you're no longer stuck in confusion. You're no longer wondering where you stand. You're no longer wasting time trying to decode mixed signals. The lack of effort from her side speaks louder than any words ever could. Most men avoid this moment. They keep texting, keep chasing, keep trying to fix things because they're afraid of what silence might reveal. They'd rather hold on to a false sense of connection than face the reality that she might not be that interested. But that fear is exactly what keeps them stuck in situations that go nowhere. When you embrace silence, you take your power back, you stop reacting, and you start observing. You allow people to show you who they are without interference. And that clarity is priceless because now your decisions are based on reality, not hope, not imagination, not wishful thinking. And here's the deeper truth: someone who truly values you won't need constant reminders of your existence. They won't forget about you just because you stop texting for a while. If anything, they'll become more aware of you. They'll feel your absence more strongly because real interest doesn't disappear in silence, it becomes more obvious. So instead of chasing answers through endless messages, learn to step back and let silence do the work for you. It will show you everything you need to see without confusion, without mixed signals, without wasted time. And once you see the truth clearly, you'll never feel the need to chase it again. Most men don't realize that neediness isn't something you say, it's something you communicate through your behavior. And nothing exposes it faster than constant texting. You might think you're just being attentive, responsive, or interested, but from the other side, it often feels like you're seeking validation, approval, or reassurance. And that energy changes everything. When you're always the first to text, always replying instantly, always trying to keep the conversation alive, it sends a subtle message your attention is not in demand. It feels like you're waiting around, hoping for a reply, looking for something to happen. And even if that's not your intention, that's how it comes across. Because people don't just listen to what you say, they read how you behave. Attraction is built on emotional strength, not dependency. It grows when someone feels like you have a life, a purpose, and priorities beyond them. But when you're constantly available, constantly checking your phone, constantly engaging, starts to feel like they are the center of your world. And that creates pressure. It removes the sense of challenge, the sense of discovery, the sense that they have to earn your time. Neediness is not about caring too much. It's about showing that you need something in return. It's when your actions are driven by the hope of getting attention back, getting reassurance, or keeping someone from losing interest. And the irony is, the more you try to hold on to someone through that behavior, the faster they pull away. People are naturally drawn to those who are comfortable without them, not indifferent, not cold, but grounded. Someone who enjoys their time, their life, their path, whether the other person is present or not. That kind of energy is attractive. It feels real. It feels like a choice, not a dependency. When you reduce unnecessary texting, you're not playing games. You're removing the behaviors that signal insecurity. You're allowing your actions to reflect confidence instead of doubt. You're showing that you don't need constant contact to feel secure in yourself. And that alone shifts how you're perceived. It also changes how you feel internally. When you're not glued to your phone waiting for replies, your focus goes back to your own life, your work, your goals, your growth. You stop overanalyzing every message, you stop wondering what she's thinking, and instead you start living in a way that naturally builds confidence because your happiness is no longer tied to someone else's response time. And here's the key: when someone senses that you're not dependent on their attention, they start to value yours more, because now it's not something you're giving away out of need, it's something you're choosing to give from a place of strength. So instead of trying to stay connected through constant messages, focus on becoming someone who doesn't need them to feel complete. And that's when your presence starts to carry real weight. Texting can feel like connection, but it's not. It's a tool, a convenience, a way to coordinate life, but it can never replace real human interaction. Chemistry, attraction, emotional connection, these things happen face to face in shared experiences, in moments that words on a screen can't replicate. No amount of clever messages, emojis, or witty banner can create the same impact as being physically present, seeing expressions, hearing tone, and feeling energy in real time. Most men get it backwards. They think if they can keep someone engaged over text, they're building a relationship. They believe that if they can make her laugh through messages, share stories, or respond immediately, they're creating intimacy, but that's a mirage. Texting can simulate connection, but it doesn't generate the real attraction that comes from shared presence. In fact, relying too much on it weakens your impact when you are together. It's like watering a seed in the wrong soil. You think it's growing, but it's stunted. Real connection happens when there's vulnerability, presence, and energy exchange. It's in the way someone laughs at your jokes, the way their eyes light up when they talk about something they love, the way physical proximity makes everything more intense. These moments create memories, emotions, and attachment. They create stories she carries with her when she's not around. Texting can never do that. It can only remind her that you exist. And here's the subtle trap: when men over text, they replace real life experiences with messages. Instead of asking her out, they settle for hours of conversation through a screen. They confuse business for progress, messaging for intimacy, and convenience for closeness. Meanwhile, the energy that could be built in person is diluted, flattened, and forgotten. When she sees you in real life, the spark isn't there because you've already given all your energy away online. The most attractive men understand this. They use texting strategically, not to build a relationship, but to create opportunities for one. Texts become tools to set meetings, plan experiences, and remind her of your presence, not to simulate intimacy. They understand that what happens in person carries weight that messages never will. They save their energy for the moments that matter, and they know that real attraction grows in those shared spaces, not in the digital void. When you stop relying on texting as your primary mode of interaction, you reclaim your value. You shift the dynamic from one of endless digital chasing to one of anticipation and presence. She starts to notice your absence, and your effort becomes more meaningful. The first time she experiences your energy in person after a period of space, it hits differently. It carries intensity, attention, and focus that texting can never replicate. That's where real chemistry thrives. So stop trying to create connection through a screen. Stop confusing digital activity with genuine presence. Show up in person, bring energy, and let real life interactions do the work that texting can never accomplish. That's where attraction, respect, and genuine connection truly begin. When you finally step back and stop chasing, something almost magical happens. Walking away doesn't mean giving up, it means reclaiming your power, your self respect, and your life. So many men get caught up in the need to be constantly available, to respond immediately, to prove their worth through effort. But the truth is, real respect and real attraction are earned, not begged for. When you stop running after someone, you immediately shift the energy in your favor. You stop being a participant in someone else's agenda and start leading your own life, and that's incredibly attractive. Walking away forces clarity. It forces the other person to show where they truly stand. If she's genuinely interested, she will make the effort. She will reach out. She will step into your world instead of expecting you to stay in hers. And if she doesn't, if she lets your absence slide without a reaction, then you've just revealed the reality you needed to see all along. No amount of chasing or over texting could have shown you that more clearly. The beauty of stepping back is that you no longer operate from hope, you operate from truth. This is not about playing games, it's about creating a boundary that communicates your value without saying a word. When someone realizes you're not dependent on their attention, they begin to respect it. They see that your presence is a choice, not a default. And nothing builds attraction faster than the combination of confidence, self respect, and emotional independence. People are naturally drawn to those who have lives worth living outside of any relationship or interaction because it signals stability, strength, and worth. At the same time, walking away allows you to focus on yourself. It gives you room to grow, to invest in your goals, your passions, and your personal development. When your energy isn't tied up in chasing validation, it becomes magnetic. You stop trying to force someone into caring, and instead you create a life that naturally draws the right people toward you. And here's the subtle yet critical part: when someone comes back into your life after you've stepped away, they come with intention, not obligation. That changes the entire dynamic of the connection. Many men fear walking away because they equate it with rejection, loss, or failure. But the reality is, walking away is the ultimate demonstration of self respect. It's proof that your time and energy are valuable and that you will not settle for being someone's option. And ironically, when you embrace that mindset, you often find that people start to chase you instead. They realize that you're not there to be grabbed at will, you're there to be chosen. So, stepping back isn't a weakness, it's the strongest move you can make in any dynamic where respect, interest, or attraction is in question. It forces honesty, reveals intentions, and sets the standard for how you deserve to be treated. And when you understand that, you'll never feel powerless again.